while she's looking for that, we'll start, open the meeting. This is the Community Preservation Act Committee meeting, and this is May 7th. And we are, no, can't get in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll just have to leave those for the next time.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have minutes, so we'll leave that for the next time. I should have probably reminded Brian, seeing that he has city council tonight, he probably wasn't even thinking about us too much.
Yeah, on his desk, I think, was all the agenda.
With the forecast and
And, okay, so we'll go right into, to that item one is the minutes. The second, item is treasurer's update and discussion.
So we do have the treasures.
And I have some copies of those.
thank you.
Okay.
These ones are bonus.
I'll save this in case someone later. Okay, go ahead, Andrew, you're on.
Thank you. Okay, so I put together this current standing for us about 2 weeks ago with Amy, and try to follow along as I explain. We have the first upper left in green, 1,044,000. That's the total amount that we have beyond administrative for our CPA budget. Above that, 848,389 is the total amount we've approved to date as a body.
Okay.
And
So
that,
that 1,044,000 does not include administrative?
no, administrative has been removed. We have that. I was just trying to get into the project available and what we've spent.
Okay,
So the balance overall is 195,655. To the right, pending our approval, and I had some notes on what these projects were. Perhaps Amy
it's
can help me out.
123 Pine Street is the 120,
Okay, 123 Pine Street, and we have,
34.
Oh, and the other one is 4050 now.
Yes,
so that's the remaining projects we have for this year, which is a total of $175,000. So, we make sure that so we are good to go with our budget as far as projects on the pipeline for our consideration. It's not a budgetary matter.
okay.
175 plus the 848, right?
175 plus the 848 is the total projects together.
Altogether,
So 195 plus the 848 is our total budget.
Okay.
it's the 1,044, right?
So we have 20,000, okay.
I mean, the 1 million, I'm sorry. The
Oh.
those two totals.
And I
the
can
1
remark on
million.
that too. She just mentioned the
Yeah.
20,000. So our total balance of our budget versus all considerations is $20,000. Without Canal Street, it's 75,000. It's just the 123 Pine.
Okay, good.
That's what the bottom right is.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody have any questions on,
Did good.
Thanks.
yeah, no, this is great, very helpful. And, so, okay, so no questions, okay, is there,
That's good.
a motion to accept?
Well,
Oh, do you have a question, go ahead.
backing up, it was just for Pine, that was 50,000 from the housing budget and,
Oh, yeah, let's see. It's
Oh, the 50,000.
120,000 is the part that is not yet, has been recommended. Well, all of it was recommended for 123 Pine.
all that was recommended, but we were breaking it down, some of it was coming from housing and some of it was coming from
Right,
historical.
so that's why it only has 120,000 under housing here to the right, because that has not yet been approved by city council.
Yeah, but I,
The historical is over here in this column, I believe.
And that was a
Under
If that was
historic,
approved,
Yes, it's
yeah.
right here. That's
Under
the
historic.
historical. It's not labeled, but that is for
Okay.
123 Pine Street.
Oh, which one is that, Amy?
the 50,000?
The 30,000
Under
at
30.
the bottom
Oh,
of
the
the
30,
historic column.
excuse me.
Okay,
Yes,
is
yes.
this part.
I hope this was.
And we tried to print this out
It's
with
fine.
labels, it
I
got
thought
messy,
it was
so
the other way.
sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, you thought that
I
the
thought
housing
that-
was approved?
No, I thought that the numbers were the other way around. that
Oh.
A lesser amount was coming from housing, and a greater amount was coming from,
no,
No.
okay, well,
no.
if you guys say so, I don't know how you, I've completely forgotten, obviously.
I know
You
that's
kept
true
on that one.
also
So,
because,
no, I believe you.
Yeah, no,
Marcus
it's-
just looked at something I sent
Yeah.
over with
Oh, yeah.
everything laid out.
Okay.
Oh, and before we accept, I'll just say that our
So this
admin
is-
budget is $1,700 left. That's 4 hours a week through the end of the fiscal year.
Undesignated budget.
Well, that's where it's coming from.
But we made it.
She's
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
taking
good,
some
yeah.
weeks off.
Yeah,
Very-
yeah, that's
Very
awesome.
close, but we did it.
Yeah, I
I was
know.
worried in February, March. a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Oh wait, is that reversed? No.
And I'm, and,
So you did a
Look here.
budget reserve of 50,000 plus undesignated budget.
Well, that's just showing, that's not for, like, you don't really have to worry about, but this is like, I'm just trying to keep straight which reserve everything's, and I'll be passing this around for everybody. But this is the main thing I wanted to show you, which I know Marcos has looked at. So this part was approved, but not that, the 120,000 for the housing.
okay. And I just, what did I want to say now?
I
Oh,
thought the
I-
expenses there.
Are you all set, Nene?
Well, this, I don't suppose it really matters, so yeah, let's move on. This is about,
Okay.
if you're pine, are we about the actual?
Well, that is on the
numbers?
agenda
Yeah.
also.
Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know too that I made an administrative decision and for Ryan for the rest of the year. I mean, he just came to me about 2 weeks ago to sign some those are included in this, some hours. But it was like for 3 months, so I thought, well, if he can wait 3 months, then I'm gonna have him wait now. And I asked him if this was okay for these 2 months. For his hours, I'm not gonna pay him until next fiscal year, so that Amy can.
So what is, because, what are his responsibilities right now that he's still doing?
His responsibilities are the minutes and the recordings.
But we have a volunteer doing the minutes. Oh, you mean just putting the minutes on the website?
No, I'm sorry, I meant to say agenda. The agenda,
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda and the recordings. The recording, he makes sure that we get recorded
Mhm.
and takes care of, and he takes care of the posting of our agenda and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's it. Which is, maybe an hour or two, might be for the next 2 months, a week. But it's gonna come out of next
Yes.
administrative budget,
July.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
Also, you had asked me, Elaine, how much money is left in the admin budget,
Mhm.
and right now, it's 1,769 and 9 cents till the end of June. So, when I last talked to you, it was about 2,000, now it's even less.
Okay.
So it's 4 hours a week, that, I think you just said.
Yeah, it comes out to about 4 hours a week, though it's hard to do that little, or sometimes there might be hours bunched up on one week and then
Right,
no
right,
hours the
that's
next,
fine.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's till June 30th, that's all the money that's left for doing the contracts and all that stuff.
Okay, we need, one of the things we need to talk about in June, when we're all done with all of our projects, is to make a budget for next year, especially the administrative budget. I mean, we don't know what the other
Right.
budget, but, and also to know, what the estimated amount is we're gonna get and put those 10%.
I can put that together in June, actually, for the committee.
Okay, great, that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you had asked, well, let's finish with this first.
Sure.
So is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and Andrew, you asked already to maybe have someone else take over in July 1st.
Yeah, so I was originally appointed 2 years, and I've done 2 years as a treasurer anyway, so it would be up. And I just asked, I think it's not fair to continue to hold a spot if I'm going to be here every other meeting or so, my professional. So I asked not to be reappointed by the council.
Okay, so and you probably did, and maybe Ryan did too, but I also forwarded to Todd and let them know, that's the president of the city council, let them know that they have to advertise now
Right.
and get someone to take your place. But I'm sure when we do our elections and doing our own administrative changes here on our committee, that we that there's going to be somebody new as the treasurer, and they may have a lot of questions. So
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer, and I'll even through next year, through the reporting season, I figure in the fall, I'm happy to work with Amy with the new treasurer.
Okay, that would be great, thank you very much.
So will the city council appoint somebody?
Yes,
Okay.
it's their appointment, so they have to advertise for someone. And I'm going to suggest that, you know, they ask for someone who has financial experience, but there's no guarantee that we're gonna get that, so. I mean, I have an idea of what we may be able to do if things turn out different, because I'll be done as chairman, is that my title, chairman?
Chair.
Chair, so I could take over the financial, I could become treasurer, but then you guys will have to think about who you might want to be as chair. So it's up to you guys. I mean, if that's, I'm just suggesting that, it's not written in
Good
stone,
idea.
but,
Because your chair term ends in June.
well, technically I could stay on until January, but only because at that time we were messed up about our our elections. And actually, it should take place in July, so I think that's, it'll be a year and a half in
Right.
July, so, it'd be better to start it off as the right place.
Yeah, that'd be.
So while we're on this topic, do all of us there was a staggered turnover?
No,
There was
1, 2, and 3.
Not for you
It only
guys.
affects the city council appointees.
Yes.
Yeah. Kip is year to year right now.
No, he's
2,
3-year
3.
appointment.
Oh, he's a
He
3?
got a
Ones
3-year
reappointed to
Oh,
a
okay.
3-year term. All of the ones that they do will now be 3-year terms.
Right, whoever takes your place
Somebody
will
will
get
Year,
it.
1 year would be too short.
Yeah,
to get in.
but
Yeah.
those of us who are delegated by various authorities are here basically under whatever rules our authorities have set up. So what the historical commission
Historical
is decided to
commission, I don't
do.
know.
So if you felt like you needed to get off or move on for any reason, then you would go to the historical commission and they would appoint somebody else.
Right, just like what Libby did.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
When she replaced herself.
Right, so it's just
Yeah.
having a representative from the different committees.
Yeah.
And it's best if you're gonna do that, to do it at the end of, we're
Yeah, not in the
at
middle.
the end of our June, July area.
Well,
So that we don't.
That's what I was.
technically, the boards should determine their own appointment procedures and decide how they want to handle it. I don't think any of us have actually done it, at least none of the boards I'm aware of.
The only one I have with conservation, only because Anya was pregnant and couldn't go on, so then I just took over, but,
Yeah.
but I think, so that was just different, but normally I think they're hoping that somebody will serve for 3 years.
So there was a moment where I gotta admit, I was a little confused and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I got so much going on, can I continue? And I want to continue, but when
I remember that moment.
when we had to, like it was a month ago, and we were gonna bring reports, and I was like, what report?
Yeah,
So
for
trying to
120
figure out what I
High
needed to
Street.
do, I felt like I was not serving this commission fairly, because I felt like I'm unprepared, I'll go to the meeting and hope nothing happens. So I don't want that to happen, I don't like that hanging over my head. I'm happy to serve, and I like, the meetings, I hope that I contribute.
Yeah.
But if I'm not doing something that I need to be doing, because even now, I didn't bring anything with me tonight, and I think we decided, your email said something about how 43 Canal wasn't, so I just don't want to
Yeah,
fall
hasn't been
short of
voted on yet,
expectations.
yeah.
But no, I think we've all been improvising.
Right.
None of us really know what we're doing.
But I do think this raises a good point that when the city council looks for a treasurer, they should really make clear, or if you're
Well,
not
a
the treasurer.
but somebody with financial.
Yeah,
experience.
whoever is appointed under, well, what I mean is that they understand that there is like
Actual.
commitment.
There's a
or
commitment.
what
Yeah,
that
yeah.
commitment
Yeah.
is, so people don't get the wrong idea that,
Right.
it's gonna be easy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. No, it's working, it's definitely working. And,
Yeah.
but, I mean, Amy, thank goodness for her. She's
Yeah,
out
no.
there, and,
You've been carrying the day, I think, on all that.
Exactly, because, even if we don't have, we're not up to where we're supposed to be, she carries the
Well,
load.
they are
And
running
she
into
stays
some-
connected with all of us.
We are
which I
running
love.
into some difficulties though, which, like with this glow tech woods thing, which we can talk about.
I think it's not that hard.
But it's just that we can't meet that deadline.
The
There's
May
no way
22nd.
that they can have the check by May 22nd.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll work on that one.
I'm also gonna be away, on Friday for 5 days, and we don't know who the check is going to be cut to, so.
So I did
Well,
read
we
some of the emails, and I'm gonna be at Kestrel tomorrow, so I'll see how,
I think
it should really go to
Andrew's
the,
trying to figure it out.
yeah, it should really go to the city, and Matthew, her lawyer said that he would be somebody who the check could go to, and then it could be dispersed at that point.
Oh, that's what he said?
We're
I
going
saw that on
off
email.
our agenda here, so
Yeah, that's right.
bring that up under
Okay,
other business.
yeah. But we don't even have anything written down about, with the city solicitor about that at all.
Right. Yeah, so
Okay.
I could probably,
Yeah, that would be great. if-
Let's get back to the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all set with item 2. Item 3, discussion of reasons why we recommended the affordable housing project for 123 Pine Street for our meeting with the City Council Finance Committee members on Wednesday, which is tomorrow night, 5/8, in the City Council chambers at 6:30. I mean, we need to go there with ideas in our mind of why we voted for this, and I think Amy.
Yeah, I have, the thing that I wrote up, which I had emailed you before, maybe I emailed everyone, and I'll pass it around, and Marcos, sorry, what's his name? Marco.
No, Marcos.
Marcos, sorry. Marcos, Elaine, you suggested I share it with Marcos, so he put his comments, so everybody can see, what I've laid out here, and, what his comments are, which are on the 3rd page.
And that is tomorrow night?
Yeah, so I really have to get this to,
Yes,
I mean, Mike
absolutely.
has an earlier draft, but I'd like him to get the right copy before the meeting.
Those of you that can make it
Thank you.
tomorrow, we don't have to have a quorum or anything, so if you can make it, fine, if you can't, that's fine.
Oh, were you expecting me to come to that?
looks different.
That's not the same?
I wasn't anticipating, no, it has the comments
Oh, okay.
on it.
Oh, okay, thank you. I don't know if you,
I wasn't
mean, you're-
anticipating that, so.
I don't know if we might get stuck on stuff, I don't know. And Marcos is gonna be there, right, and Steve, so I hope that they're gonna
They
do.
should be able to carry
They're
it.
gonna,
think
I was just gonna say,
they
I hope
can
they
handle
can handle it, and
Yeah.
if there's,
Yeah, I don't see why
Yeah.
they should be dragged out to this.
I don't think so either.
we'll call you if we need you.
Yeah,
Just
there you
kidding.
go.
Just
Hello?
kidding.
Madam Chairman, is that
What
what
I'm
it's
doing, I mean,
No.
I might be able to go to it.
No.
I think they can
Did Joe specifically ask for
They're
this person, that person, that person,
No.
this committee?
And of the things in the past, when I had a project,
Well, if you
it was
can
me
make
who
it,
had to
fine,
go,
if
not
you can't.
Well,
Yeah.
right,
Not
there's
the-
that,
he always left.
celebration of
Other people on the
remembrance.
other
We're we're having
Yes.
2 meetings here, ladies and gentlemen. Please,
All right,
let's
so-
have
okay.
one meeting.
So anyway, this is the sort of best practice for how other CPA communities, normally this would be written out, and this is how the city council would see it.
Okay.
All the projects that
Right.
are recommended, so they could see, oh, what is this? Where will this money, what is the recommended amount? What reserve does it come from? So they see what they're approving.
Mhm.
So you can see the different categories, project description, and then the next page has more details.
Excuse me. I just want to make sure those amounts are right, because I may have heard incorrectly, but I thought that 120 was for historic.
That's what we
And
need.
30.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
But
Are
I know
those
that
switched at the
Marcos
bottom of
looked at
page
this,
one?
No,
and I
we
always,
just went through that.
I don't think so. Marco
So
was
it's for
always,
Libby.
housing was the big cost.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Well,
I guess I
we
missed that.
wanted to take it out of housing because that was money that we weren't otherwise using.
Right, so a
But,
portion of it is coming out of that.
My impression had been,
That we didn't have that
That-
much in historic.
well, no, we had money we hadn't touched in historic that we didn't use because.
Right.
we were trying to-
Right.
I'm
Beyond
sorry,
designated reserve.
in housing. The
Right.
historic, we were going through it.
Right.
But my recollection of the discussion at that meeting, which I would have to check with the recording, is that the big expense was the facade. The big expense being charged to us was the facade, and therefore it was like 100 from historic, or from undesignated at that point, and 50 from housing, because that was what we had, but we otherwise couldn't touch because
Well,
we had no housing.
It's definitely
It
hundred
says
and
it.
20,000, but 50,000, this will
Yeah.
come out of that reserve that we had extra money in for
Yeah.
housing.
But, you know, the reason
Which is
that
why
I
it says that here.
stopped obsessing about this earlier was simply that, you know, no matter which of our accounts it's coming out of, we want to draw down the housing money, which
Right.
otherwise we can't touch.
Right.
And,
If you go to page 2, recommended funding
yeah,
explains the whole thing.
and if Marcos has been over this, we're probably fine with it. It just, my recollection of the meeting is the same as Marcos, so I'll have to go back and check and see what we actually said. You know, just so that I
And
know.
I'm pretty sure it was always this.
Okay, so, Amy, do you want us to take this home and
Well,
look at it?
I think it would be good if everybody read through the conditions right now, starting at the bottom of page 2, and looked
Okay.
at Marcos's
Yeah,
comments,
Okay,
and
The funding
see if you agree with them.
okay.
yeah. And then the thing that I don't see here that I would be inclined to add, and maybe it is, and I'm just not reading closely enough, is in terms of why this is a worthwhile project,
Mhm.
is it's a architecturally significant building that basically anchors a street that has been kind of on the upswing in terms of Holyoke properties. And if we can save it and stabilize it, that's a building where, you know, there's going to be a community garden across the street. They've done through hoops to preserve that. And there's private investment in the other brownstones in the area. And not letting something like that be demolished or fall apart and reported up is good for the economics of the entire district.
Okay, so maybe that could be added under recommended funding, that section.
Or you could be there tomorrow and speak to that.
Yeah. Yeah, or I don't think I have anything else tomorrow night. I'll have to double check it, but if I can be there, I will, because,
Yeah,
I think that would be
I think-
more powerful if somebody
Yeah.
actually says it, because I don't know people, how carefully people read.
I don't know how carefully people read it. I have
Pretty
said this
reading.
sometimes that I can probably say it in my sleep, so.
But that's a really good
But
point.
I
No,
think it's
it's the
worth
best.
putting into the paperwork so that
Mhm.
we have the rationale for
Mhm.
why we make the recommendation.
And
Unless
also-
somebody has a better one.
Restoring a dormant property to the tax rolls.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course.
So
that's right.
that's the big
Yeah.
thing.
That's
Exactly.
huge, yeah, that's huge.
exactly.
What did you say, so restoring your
It's gonna be a
property?
taxpaying property down
Uh-huh.
on Pine Street.
Yeah, for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can also add this into the recommended section.
And the only thing that I had a concern about was, and of course that was in this one, but it was described as creating new community housing, and I think that's a misnomer because we're actually rehabilitating. It used to be,
Well, I don't think they know what it used to be.
well, no, oh yes, I do, it was apartments, low-income housing.
It was,
It
okay,
was.
because I remember him
Yeah.
saying that he wasn't sure what it used to be, but maybe I'm
It was
thinking.
long-
It
It
was
was
housing,
apartments.
we just,
Yeah. But here's my point. My point is that we're not creating something new, and this is what I think the hang-up is in the city council.
Mm.
We're not creating something new by putting those back in service. They were there before.
And they were
we're just-
low-income housing?
Yes, and we're just rehabilitating it.
Do you
So that
remember?
it's-
I don't remember,
I
I
don't
remember him
remember.
saying he knows it was housing, but doesn't know if it was low income.
Well, it was whatever the market rate was at that time, the last time that it was open, whatever it was.
So it may not have been specifically low income though.
It depends what the rate, going
The rate
rate,
was
what they could
mixed.
get for those
It was market
apartments
rate.
at that time, who knows? I don't know when it closed.
But if we knew that it was low income, it would be, it would strengthen your argument even more.
Right.
You know,
It would,
it's not creating new low income housing, which some
it
people
would,
have
but
a
we don't
problem.
have to say the word low, we could just say, we could just say,
Yeah.
we're not creating new housing here, it's
We're
rehabilitating an apartment block back into service, into
and it's gonna start to
apartments.
pay taxes.
Right, it's not, it's,
That's huge.
I think
That's-
it's.
We're gonna get our investment back on this.
Yeah.
thing,
Yes,
right?
It's
Tax
the
rolls.
creating new that I think they're hung up on it, we don't wanna say that.
Where does it say that? Can you tell
Well,
me?
that was on this one, in this, the original one we had.
What section?
Right in the project description. Project description, I don't know if it's still in the project description or if you changed.
Yes, it is there, okay.
Yeah.
So by restoring
Restoring.
Rehabilitating or restoring, something on that, and that kind of.
Historical
Okay, but I
housing.
don't know if it's perfectly accurate to say restoring community housing.
Yes,
Well, it is market rate, that's
That's
not
right.
community
That's
housing.
why
as
I
a-
hesitate.
what does community housing mean?
Historic.
It means
Community
affordable.
housing is a term of art for.
But it was affordable for its day and age, whatever the mark,
But that's not- it's
whatever they were getting for apartments.
Yes,
No, that's,
so that's
no,
not
that's
what
not quite right.
affordable
It's-
means in the current.
Yeah.
Yes, in any natural sense, if people could afford it at the time, it was affordable housing, but that's not what affordable housing means now. It is-
Well, that's right, and that's what I'm not
That's
talking
why
about
it might
today.
be creating new housing.
Maybe-
Or
Or
community
I
housing.
still would not put it in
There
those words.
is, however,
Because
a
we're gonna
useful
press a
point
button
that
there.
Marcos has made about doing this, which is even if we are doing the kind of low-income housing that the city council is nervous about, to the extent that we're going with valley opportunities, we are basically displacing slumlord housing owned by investors from out of the region who let their properties decay and will rent to anybody, with housing run by a respectable organization that vets its tenants very carefully. And on balance, that is a good
I'm with
city.
you, I'm with you, that's,
Yeah, no, this is,
I'm okay.
So
I'm
we
not
need to
arguing,
state
I'm not
that.
arguing with
Yeah.
you, I'm arguing with the city council and their presumed arguments.
Right, yeah,
No, I
because,
assume that everybody in this group, because we voted to do it.
and I think
understands
even on the
argument.
city council, they know this, but they're getting this from
Yeah.
the electorate out there.
Yeah,
They're
which
like,
is-
oh, they just hear low income housing and they don't wanna hear about
So
it.
maybe
Yeah,
I
which
could,
is why it's our job to pitch it properly.
Madam Chairman, do you know who the former owner, who was the last owner of
I
it?
do not know, but I'm
So-
sure.
maybe some of the things you're saying should go in the project description, but more
city
importantly,
owns
be
it.
shared verbally, that would
Yeah.
be the biggest
The
difference.
city owns it.
But we don't know who owned it prior to
I
But
that.
I think I'll have to just say by restoring housing.
How about historic housing?
It's a historically significant building that's been vacant for 25 years
Yeah.
that we are restoring to the tax rolls. and
Then we are
providing housing.
restoring to the tax rolls, that's how to
Yes.
say it.
Yeah.
Restoring
Do you
to-
know that it's been 25 years?
I know the building.
It's been
vacant for a
25
while.
years vacant.
25 years, wow. All the time flies.
Okay, so then on the
And
third
that's a big
page,
deal.
or
Yeah.
if everybody could just read through the conditions.
Yep, okay, go
Starting
ahead.
with the bottom part of the second page.
Okay.
Some of it might be redundant and so forth.
Do you want to read it for us?
You want me to read it all out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this project, if completed as proposed, and I think this came from you, Mimi, will have two components, the restoration of the historic facade and the interior construction of the residential units. Or I'm not sure what it's name. CPA funds provided by this grant will be used to leverage considerable additional funding from other sources. Accordingly, these funds will not be drawn down until all the necessary funding commitments for full construction have been obtained. And if they're not obtained by July 31st, 2021, this grant will automatically terminate and the funds allocated for this project will no longer be reserved for this purpose. And I had some emails.
Yeah, I think that I do recognize this
Yeah.
phrasing, yes.
All work must be completed by fiscal year 2022 on a date to be determined by the committee. The purchase and sale must be approved by so it doesn't say what that date is. The date
Well,
to be
if you're gonna
determined.
go with FY '22, it would be
Yeah.
June 30th.
By a date to be determined.
That would be.
But I think later I say June 30th somewhere in here.
Oh, yeah, right there under,
June 30th, 2022.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the end of the fiscal year.
So that would be the date, okay. The purchase and sale must be approved by the Commonwealth Department of Housing and Community Development as required by the Urban Renewal Plan. I might have gotten that from Marcos.
Yes.
The developer will have, now these are the parts where he's saying, these two next points, he's saying these conditions are governed by HRA, or the redevelopment authority. The CPA should not preempt them, or it could create problems down the line. So I took this from what they had written in their application. So I guess I get his point. So what it says here is the developer will have 60 to 90 days to do due diligence of the property with the closing to take place 30 days after. The HRA will include a reverter clause and performance requirements for the developer requiring that that work and permitting must commence within 6 months of the receipt of LITC tax credits and state historic tax credits and be completed within 2 years by FY 2022.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, do you agree that he's saying these conditions are governed by the redevelopment authority and the CPA should not preempt them, or it could create problems down the line if for whatever reason the due diligence period needs to be different down the line? Because I guess they're gonna have their own agreement, and this might mess with their agreement. So, or if extension or on beginning construction is needed, for example, will lead to more red tape that is unnecessary. Leaving them out does not affect the interest terms of the CPA committee because the other terms still require the project finish on time and to the expected quality to get funding. The completion of work by 2022 is already present in the second bullet point above, so is also unnecessary here. So do you think that makes sense, that I should just nix those two things? Because we already have the deadline and they want the flexibility to do what they need to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
And also, if we do a legal agreement with them, we can always do an addendum later on
okay.
if they need to change dates, if they need another month or 2 or 6 months or whatever, we can do an addendum to
And then
change the date.
Okay, and then the next condition says, once Valley Opportunity has completed the exterior design work for the property, VOC must obtain approval from the Holyoke Historic Commission and/or he added or, any historical regulatory authority, including the National Park Service, to assure that the design meets appropriate standards as required. And his comment is, because the HHC does not possess the expertise to say that anyone has met the Secretary of the Interior standards, so it may be HHC, but it may just be the Secretary of the Interior, so.
We can go to Washington and fly over and discuss it.
Well,
So, that's fine with me, just
Yeah.
put the or in.
yeah, that's
Yes.
I
fine.
guess he knows that HHC is really not gonna be able to do that, so.
Right.
Once all historic rehabilitation work and interior housing work has been completed, an inspection must take place, after which the CPA funds will be distributed. He says, this should state for what purpose if the inspection adds a level of discretion to withhold payment. Is it to assure that the units were constructed? I believe DHCD will have to do the same walkthrough due to tax credits.
Should state for what purpose if the inspection adds a level of discretion to withhold payment. To withhold payment if the inspection does not
I'm not sure what he means.
turn out to be,
Yeah, no, what's the point?
what is he suggesting that that he's suggesting we put in different wording there? Or is the wording okay, what you wrote?
I think that what he's suggesting is that, you know, whatever that last walkthrough is, what are we inspecting for? What is the
Yes.
point of the inspection that must take place?
I guess to make sure it was done according to whatever the contract ends
Yeah,
up stating.
And
The work
if it's to ensure the housing units have been made available, that's already a redundant inspection that's going to be taking place as part of this process. And we already mentioned the historic one, 2 lines above, so it's not necessary for us. That's what
We
he's
don't
saying.
even need that.
So
Yeah.
you think I should take that whole bullet point out?
I think that's what he's suggesting.
Or that if there is some other purpose for our
Right,
inspection.
Yeah.
Right.
We
It
should
doesn't
add
have
it
to
in
be,
and tell them what.
maybe it doesn't have, yeah, it doesn't have to be maybe an inspection where they have to hire someone to do it, or we have to hire, maybe we can, or
We can say-
whoever's our administrators.
We can say pending, what was the inspection that's going to be?
DHCD?
Yeah, pending a successful DH
CD
inspection,
approval.
we can approve ours.
That's right.
Yeah,
Just,
okay.
make keep the bullet point, but make it dependent on the report from that inspection rather than our own walkthrough.
Right.
Okay, so how do you phrase that? Once all historic rehabilitation work and interior housing work has been completed, pending an inspection by DHCD, I'm trying to figure out the wording.
Inspection and approval?
Approval, yeah.
Yeah.
Inspection and approval by DHCD.
Correct.
Pending
Yes, pending
Yeah.
and approval.
Then payments will be made.
Inspection and approval.
and approval by DHCD. Right, so we'll say once all historic rehabilitation work and interior housing work has been completed. This seems like an awkward sentence. Pending approval, and it's
after
after inspection
the
and approval.
DHCD has done its inspection.
Hmm.
I think there's probably a better way to do this, but dictation is not a strong point.
Has done its inspection and approval.
And approval.
Where CPA funds will be distributed following a report from the DHCD attesting to its inspection and approval of these units.
Oh, will they do that, or are they gonna send it to the mayor and say, do they recognize us? What if DHC said, yeah, you're just a committee, so what? We do
Well,
it
I
the
think
mayor.
Marcos will
I
get
think
it to
the
us.
applicant at Marcos will
He'll
make sure
get it to
that
us.
he
No,
Or else
that's
he's not
okay.
gonna.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise-
the state, sometimes the state acts like King George, sometimes, so what? We deal with the mayor, that's it, the rest of you guys pound sand. Sometimes they
Yeah,
they
no,
but that
can
doesn't
be
matter.
arrogant.
Yeah,
They may
no.
say, well, we're not gonna, why are we gonna talk to you?
Yeah,
Well,
I
even
think
if they
that
give it to
may
the
be
mayor.
absolutely true, but if they send it to somebody, as long as we get a copy of it, we're good to go.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
what we're saying.
Don't think
Yeah,
that
no.
DHCD is gonna wait for our approval.
Oh, yeah, no, I
No,
don't.
we're waiting
No,
for
that's
theirs.
Yeah,
We're waiting for theirs.
Yeah.
But the
no,
only
I-
thing
So-
about it is,
I would expect the applicant to, obviously get the certification back, and probably, whoever in the city. And because they want our money, they will take it and bring it to us.
no, that's
Right,
okay.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
20% of their project budget is based on that DHCD tax credit proposal, so they're gonna need that.
Yeah, so they're going to.
No, that's
see that
okay.
it's done.
the only thing
No,
is that
yeah, we
he
can't ask
says-
the state to send it to us, we have
Yeah.
no assurance we get it.
he
Right,
says he
right.
believes they'll do that, so I'm not sure if he's sure they'll do it, so.
Well, okay, so,
I'll chime in just a quick sec, because on a couple of projects that I've worked on, where DHCD was involved, they had a project architect, somebody who came in once a month, they joined the regular weekly meeting, and they would just check in on the progress of the project. They would follow up with a report, stating, make sure you deal with this, I didn't see this in place, there would be a list of to-do items. And at the very end, they sign off saying, you've satisfied the project to our satisfaction.
So would it work this way that, the HRA would have to submit the report that DHC made to us, so we know?
I think we'd rely on, the person who got that report was, the architect, the contractor, the owner's rep. I think we would have to rely on one of those three groups to, and,
Get it to us.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is like for a condition, like, I mean, I don't think I need to track down architects and stuff,
No.
it's really up to.
They need to
Yes.
get the report to us.
They're gonna be looking for
They
that.
want their
It's
money.
up to HRA to make sure they give a copy of something showing there was this
Yeah,
inspection,
that's
right?
they'll do it.
And is the purpose, as he's saying, the purpose is to assure that they were constructed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that there weren't any deficiencies, that it was done according to the documents.
So how
Which
about-
leads me to, excuse me.
Oh, no, go ahead. You first.
Did we say exactly what we're doing? I know that we
No.
were historic and housing.
That's the other
Okay, because
thing.
the only
There's so
thing,
many details that have to be fleshed out in the contracts for
So-
all of this.
so the only danger there would be, if we wanted to have a bunch of streaming banners up on the roof, and then that wasn't communicated to the architect, and then at the end of the project, we don't see our streaming banners, then it's gotta be, like, if we do outline or identify specific things that we want them to do, then they may not be tracking that. Are we vague? We just give them the money for whatever
Well, this
purpose?
is not the actual contract, this is just to try,
To get it
For
to
the
the
finance
state.
committee.
Council.
the contract is gonna, I don't know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
because we're gonna have to work with a city solicitor or,
So if it's just
on this committee.
funding to be used at the discretion of whatever the mechanisms are.
Well, once
between-
we have a contract with them. First, we just need approval by the city council.
Yeah, we're just giving a broader idea of like what type of work it is, that's how I see it, and saying like, look, these are the things that we're gonna require of them. Although it might be even more, it might be a little different in the actual contract. I don't know.
On a technical level for this condition, how about to address Marco's concerns, which, yes, I
Our
see.
concerns.
We leave the current sentence as it is and add another sentence, going something like, in the event that DHCD does an independent inspection, the committee may determine to disperse the funds upon receipt of DHCD's final report.
Can you say that again? In the event that DHC does an independent
Yes.
inspection, yes.
The committee may determine to disperse these funds upon receipt of DHCD's final report.
Why is it may? Why
To
may? Why don't we
disperse.
just say that we will if we get that report?
Because of Marco's point just now that we may have asked for things that the DHCD isn't looking for. So we can then, if there's any question, decide whether we want to accept their report, which would be easy for us and no experts have gone over it, or whether we want to insist on our own. It's just a get out of jail free.
These are talking points to discuss with the council, though. This isn't a contract, right?
Right.
So I
We
don't
don't
know
have
if we
to
want to
get
get
to
too
that.
much into
Yeah, I
it.
have to say, I think that with the other CPA communities, I don't think they go into so much detail with
No,
the
they don't.
conditions at this level, but it's still good to be thinking about this
Right,
for the
absolutely.
contract for our sake, you know,
Right.
maybe not so much for the, but I guess it shows the finance committee like, oh, you know, this is pretty strict, they really have to, you know, if they have questions about this, this might alleviate their worries. So-
Ma'am, go ahead.
What you said was in the event that DHC does an independent inspection, the committee may determine to disperse these funds upon receipt of the report.
Or the DHCD's report, rather than doing our own inspection.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, as a point of information, does are we required, does the city council, does the city council possess and have the authority for the ones to authorize, okay, give $20,000, or do we have to go through them, like say, Mr.
At the
Chairman?
time,
Yeah,
No.
the president of the
Once-
city council,
Yeah.
we're gonna report you this evening for $20,000 from out of our budget. Do they have the regulatory obligation to bless it or not? Is it,
not at that time, this is their time for blessing or not, they either approve it or not. If they approve these
no,
funds,
the mechanics of it?
if they approve these funds, then we take over and we disperse the funds. They do not
Right.
have another voice on the funds.
Okay.
With it, so that we don't have anything though to inspect the historic aspect of the work though.
Well, let's worry about
Oh,
that.
and that actually, that sentence says historic rehabilitation. Oh, it says both, okay. So, I don't know. Who's going to, that's one of the things that could be hired, that we could hire with the new influx of money in July, to, you know, hire somebody.
And probably we won't have to, and that's part of the point that Marcos is making, I think.
Even for the historic aspect? To make sure that the historic part, that's that old point I was always bringing up about how are we gonna make sure the historic part meets the Secretary of Interior standards and what
Well,
other
who knows
CPA.
who else may be making an
They're
inspection
going
on
for
that.
historic tax credits.
We may
Yeah,
be able
they
to
they
use-
have to have it.
For his,
Yeah.
okay,
when
from
they-
what group does that?
So from the National Parks
Okay,
Service.
all right. So it's not just the DHCD?
That's for the housing credits, for the housing piece of it. The line above it with the Warren Valley Opportunity has completed the exterior design,
Okay.
that's our local historic commission
Right.
or the Secretary of Interior.
Right.
So that's the
That will
oversight.
be
So maybe that sentence should say, once all interior housing work has been completed, and not mention the historic part. Does that make sense?
It does, it says once all historic and,
You know
you're
what I'm
saying
saying?
remove
Because
that,
the
make
one
it two
above-
separate points?
That's what
Yes,
I'm saying, because the one
Okay.
above mentions the
Yeah.
historic.
I think you're right, yeah.
Okay, so then the next point, HRA and VOC agree to execute the proposed historic elements of the project exterior in compliance with the U.S. Secretary. I don't know if that's repetitive.
Don't worry about it.
The interior standards for rehabilitation and secure contractors with demonstrated experience successfully completing projects in compliance with these standards. No disbursements of funds, and he taught this, it should be may occur until the project in its entirety has received all necessary permitting and approvals from all relevant municipal, state, and federal authorities.
We should
Then he
Probably.
added to begin construction, or maybe, no,
Yeah, that's the building permit system, it's a reasonable condition.
okay, okay.
You could probably skip all that other stuff and just leave that, that's pretty much inclusive right there, that no disbursement of funds may occur, blah, 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 until we get all these people to say, okay. I mean, and all those other sentences before are just,
Well, the other ones before are after the project's done. These are before, you
well,
Same.
why would it
Same
be,
thing.
yeah.
know? Okay.
It has received all permitting and approvals. Okay.
Yeah,
I see
Initially.
I see what you're saying, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
This is good stuff for the council to see.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right,
And I think this next part was what was used for the Victory Theater.
Yeah,
You
this
wrote
is
the last 3 points.
yeah.
Okay.
In the event, I don't know, should I read it or?
Sure.
In the event these latter contingencies are not met by a date, okay, so should we now say instead of a date certain to be determined, should we say what the date is or should we leave that open? Because above we said
yes.
FY 2022, June 30th, 2022.
But you say it here.
Well,
Say,
Yeah.
but in no event to be later.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, yes, it's here.
By the committee in consultation with the applicant and its engineering, but in no event to be later than June 30th,
Right.
2022.
So it could be earlier.
So it could be earlier.
Right.
This grant will terminate, so this grant will terminate automatically and the funds reserved by the Community Preservation Act Committee to fund it will return to the CPA budget reserves from which they originated without further encumbrance. Other conditions may apply as deemed necessary and as fully set forth within the final grant agreement with the city. The HRA and Valley Opportunity Council agree to enter into a grant agreement with the city with specific conditions on the scope of work, the timely submission of progress, budget reports, and other requirements.
For the council, I would make the point that the CPA allocation represents a 10% of a total investment into the neighborhood of $1.5 million. It's a
Yes.
small price to pay for a large investment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amy, on that third one up, that first sentence, are not met by a date certain to be determined or a certain date to be determined? Am I just reading
A
that
date
funny?
certain, comma, to be determined. Date certain is just being automatically spouted in legalese.
Oh, so maybe that's why I don't, that just sounded funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to twist it.
Should there be a comma there?
Well, there doesn't
Yeah.
need to be, but I actually wonder when you take the whole date certain part out, because we've already got a date in there, and nobody is going to say, terminate our grant earlier than that, we don't mind.
Yeah.
Let's say move ahead schedule.
Well, they may move ahead of schedule, but, I suppose if they know for sure, I'm arguing against myself, if they can't make this work, and they come back to us and say, no, we can't, it would be good to know that and be allowed to dissolve the thing.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I thought we were saying we wanted to leave that in case we want them to do this at a sooner time.
Yeah, we did say that, and I found myself thinking, well, yes, but what applicant is ever going to say if they know that you'll give them until June 2020? Oh, wait, just give us till June, 2019. Nobody asks for less time to do something. And if we've already told them that we'll give them this much time, they'll probably insist on it. But, there's no reason not to leave the language there. It's just-
I mean, it'll be rewritten, I guess, by the
Yeah.
city solicitor.
Okay, I have a suggestion under alignment with FY18 Community Preservation Plan
Where's that?
on page 2. The alignment,
Oh, okay.
yeah. In the last sentence, again, secondly, the creation, don't change
Oh,
that
yeah.
word creation,
Right.
just to rehabbing or whatever word you wanna use.
Restoration.
Restoration.
I like restoration.
Yeah, because that includes the
Activating.
historic aspect,
Right.
restoration of housing. But I have to take out community housing,
Yeah, so just put
just put
housing.
housing, yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else on there? Do you need to go over the budget? That's pretty straightforward, we already have that. And on the last page is just, it's more of the same of how, what their part of the project's gonna be, the cost of their part of the project, which we have no control over anyway, so. We're just, you know, but we can point that out, that like you said, this is 10%, this is the 90% here on the back page. Yeah. Okay, anything else, Amy, on that? You feel comfortable with this whole thing?
Yeah, I feel better about it now, and
Okay.
I just hope that when I email this to Mike Sullivan, he'll know that this is the copy that needs to be looked at, not the
Right,
earlier draft.
Right, but Mike Sullivan is he on that committee?
Yeah,
But he's just a member, so he won't be speaking. I mean, he will, sort of, I guess. I mean, it's the chairman who's gonna be doing the most speaking, and if he has questions of Mike, he will ask Mike. So, yes, it's good for him to have this.
I'm just worried he might
Have the
have
wrong
already
copy.
printed the other one and not have the correct copy. So
right.
maybe it would be good if you know which of you are gonna, you know, who's gonna be there, I could make sure you're also getting this copy, so you have the right correct copy.
Right. I'm gonna be there, so, and
Okay,
just,
so-
just, Mike will just have this for information's sake, not necessarily that he needs it to speak.
Okay,
Because
so
he may not speak, who knows?
I'll email Mike and CC you with the changes to this.
CC me too.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Megan's not gonna make it to the meeting, but she'll be able to do the
Yeah.
minutes off of the video.
Okay. All right. So we're okay. Was there anything else in there? Okay. That was item 3, or should we move on to item 4?
Mhm.
Discussion of 43 Canal Street project. The last that we had left it under my recollection anyway, was that I had made a suggestion that we do $30,000 of their project. And that was only for the first 3 items. I don't have it in front of me, but 55 was the total project, and I had suggested that we just do the first 3, which would be the outside of the building and make sure the lighting, the places for the lighting was taken care of and whatever else, but the other parts, you know, I don't think that that's something that we should, as a, you know, Community Preservation Act committee, I didn't think that the rest of it was consistent with what we want to do for projects. But that was just my opinion, and then we realized that we didn't know if we had $30,000 left, so we said, well, we'll have to wait and see. So now we find that, thanks to our treasurer, that we do have, we have 55,000, that's what they're asking, but we don't have to spend that. We can-
And what were the things you would eliminate?
Well, there was,
Probably the ramp, maybe the ramp for that's accessible. Oh, that would be a good important thing to have.
I agree.
There was interpretive signage, I thought.
yes, signage.
Oh, and
Some exterior lighting,
Oh, yeah, lighting, I think
So
was one.
she
Sorry.
included
there's a
like,
sign.
Yeah, I don't know, it's in here somewhere. I should have taken it out so we could look at it.
Yeah.
you mean like ramp or the lighting? The ramp.
I think we were all.
I think the ramp was
The
pretty.
ramp should be eligible, I would think.
Well,
because there
it's
is a
not,
mention
it's
of
not that it's
ADA.
not, it's not that it's not eligible, it's just that it's very, very much involved. And more
It
than
was
I.
complicated.
Let it
Yeah,
myself.
it was complicated, and I just didn't
I
think
don't
we
think
needed to
that
get into all
it
that. That was just,
sufficient value to the area.
I don't know if everybody heard what you said.
Okay, well,
So
while
go ahead.
you have it there, Amy?
Oh, okay.
Did
What
you
I-
find it?
I know that it involved stucco, remember the whole
Here
stucco
we go.
session?
Here it is. Oh, yes, stucco repair, stucco and trim painting, lighting fixtures and conduits. And then the other 3 that I suggested that we did not do was the wheelchair ramp, the dormer replacement, and interpretive
Oh,
signage.
you have it, okay. you have it.
Yeah. So I think it was the stucco repair and trim painting and lighting fixtures, conduit came to 3,200. I mean, 32,000.
But one of the things I did find in the Secretary of the Interior standards was that it stated not recommended applying paint or other coatings such as stucco to masonry that has been historically unpainted or uncoated. Just so you know, that's actually in
Mhm. Yeah, but that stucco is already painted, you're just adding paint to something and it's already been painted.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So if it were natural brick, like
Yeah,
the
that's
red brick, and then you wanted to paint that brick purple,
Then,
that's
then you-
different. But that stucco's a product that's made to be painted.
and it's
Now,
just
the-
repaired, it's not, we're not,
Now, putting that stucco
Yeah.
on the original brick,
Right.
that would have been a different matter, but it's already
Right,
on there.
Right, so
So-
that's the weirdness about it, is that it's already on there.
And it's been there for
But it's
80
next to
years.
these other buildings that are, like you
Well,
have pointed out.
I think that's
well,
why-
let's not
I think
get
I was-
into all that
Yeah,
again.
I think
Well,
I was a little
I just
dissenting
want to
on that.
mention the second.
Yeah, I know, that's okay, you're right, Amy, about that, so, but I think we clarified that already, so.
And then those other items, like the dormer,
That
I
was
guess-
just, he was just trying to bring back a
Yeah.
picture that he saw.
Yeah, there were two
right?
dormers that were removed. You could easily do it from the photographs because he has nice clear photographs, but is that our mission to?
The Center Street houses still have the dormers too, the ones that are the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, all the other houses have
Oh,
dormers and the
okay.
front porch and, I mean, if you
Madam
really.
Chair- Madam Chairman, is the dormers as a line item, is that a dollar amount? on your
Yes,
paper?
the low estimate is 10,000, the high estimate is 12,000.
For both, for two? For
No,
both?
Oh, so they were, he was gonna put two up?
It says dormer.
I thought it was just one.
What if they're dummy dormers? Like,
Yeah, they'd have to be. They're just gonna be overbuilt on top of the roof. Like, they're not gonna be, like, you can go in the
They're not
attic and
functional.
look through a window.
Right.
the rest of the row, they are. You
Yeah.
walk in and look out the
Oh,
window.
yeah, it's
They're
part
real.
of their apartment.
We don't know for certain, excuse me, I didn't mean to-
No, that's okay.
But the easy, to do it for that amount of money,
Price,
it's
yeah.
probably, they just remove the roofing shingles or whatever it is, they build up the frame and they re-roof it, but you look through a window, you're gonna just see that little box that's inside the dormer, you're not gonna see down into the attic space, I don't think. That would require a lot of
So
additional
it's more
framing.
for outdoor appeal.
Yeah.
And the thing I'm suspicious about is that he asked for the same amount when it was a different request. And then when he found out that that was unlikely, he just came back and changed the request, but is asking for the same amount of money. Remember, because originally he
Right.
said a lot of this money will go towards an architect who will be a consultant.
Yeah, right.
And then when he found out, oh no, you can't just have this architect, because they would only have to do CPA stuff. And he's like, oh, so then he changed it and then,
These are just estimates,
Money is fungible.
they're estimates, so.
So what was your point?
My point, such as it is I'm going to vote against funding any of this. I think funding just part of it is better than funding all of it. But I think, Amy's point is well taken. This is not the kind of project that I think is at the core of our mission. The building is not of such significance, and restuccoing it is not going to make the kind of transformative impact that I think makes it a good use of our funds. And there is just no requirement that we spend down to $20,000. If we carry this money over to next year, if we find we've made a mistake and the applicant wants to come back and resubmit, he's already done the work to submit, heaven knows. But we're going to have new submissions. We're going to have 1 year's worth of money rather than 2 years' worth in budget. We're getting out about the CPA. We may have projects that we're really passionate about and have to make much tougher choices next year than we've had to make this year. And I would rather, given that this is not a project that has a clear benefit, that there was a ton of support for the community for, that we ourselves saw a whole lot of importance to. I don't see a good argument for putting taxpayer funds into this now. I would feel guilty about the people getting those surcharges if I voted to approve this.
I look at it differently because there was a lot of community support. They did have meetings in that neighborhood and they do want that place to become a community center. I think it will be a good addition and if we can help them to get that back into being a community center for that organization, I feel that it's a good use of our money, but that's my opinion, so.
But they can do that
It's up
without
to
new
you
stucco.
guys. We'll be voting on it.
that's
so-
true.
What'd you say?
They can do that without new stucco. The stuff they're doing won't bring it back.
well,
to
You know, it needs work.
I agree.
Is the stucco about sealing, is that sort of,
The stucco is
Protecting the
on
building?
one row house in a series of maybe 8 of them.
Right.
Mhm.
The rest of them do not have the stucco on.
right, But I'm just wondering, does the stucco also have a practical, you would know this, does it have a practical purpose in this situation of,
Not really. I mean,
Preventing
it's-
water.
it actually is a detriment to the brick, which can now no longer breathe outward. It would have to, when stucco gets wet, some of the moisture seeps into the brick,
oh,
and then it
So it's
needs
not so good?
sometimes it goes to the inside, so it depends on the dew point. There are a lot of technical studies, but
Hopefully that's why they need to do it over, because
because moisture gets in
The
between the
moisture's
stucco
getting in.
layer and the
Yeah.
brick,
How
and
come
sometimes
that-
it detaches.
when it came to Chestnut Street, they were talking about, remember the EFIS or EIF?
I-
Isn't that also sort of stucco?
No,
Yeah,
that's-
That's different?
The stucco that's on 43 is like a sand
Oh, it's totally
mixture
different.
that's sort of like concrete. It's like a light grade concrete that you throw on the building and then you trowel smooth.
Mhm.
The
I see.
the exterior insulated finish system is like polystyrene installation that's attached to the building, and then they put this netting and a real thin layer of what they call stucco, but it's a thin layer of artificial stuff that
So
looks
it's
like.
totally different from the EIFS for the
Yeah, that's just for
Chestnut Street.
exterior insulation finish
Okay.
system, and I think it's pronounced different ways in the business. IFUS is what I've
But
always
didn't
heard.
they also refer to that as stucco?
People do.
That looks like it.
It looks like it from
Oh,
the
okay.
outside.
So, but
When you
it's-
go and
it's a
tap
mesh.
it though, like this is like plastic. This is kind of like what's on the outside of that building.
Uh-huh.
If you were to knock on the IFUS stuff, it would sound like this. It would be real hollow because it's just polystyrene. It's like a styrofoam plate,
Yeah.
only it's like this thick. It's very, very lightweight, and it has good insulating characteristics.
So then this stucco they're asking for is really a cosmetic thing.
it is.
Well, it sounds like,
To keep-
yeah,
And to keep it from leaking. you know,
and from getting
keep the
worse.
leaks.
But not really, because he's saying what he's just saying.
Well,
No,
but
it-
so if you have a nice smooth finish and it's adhered to the brick, then, then I think that's okay. If it's starting to fall off and you're halfway between keeping it or not then it's a problem. So I assume that he was repairing it because it was in bad shape, and you can repair it. It's not to say that it's gonna last the same life as the brick. The brick could last hundreds of years. That stucco with time, you've seen the building where it kind of peels
But
off and falls
will
off.
adding the stucco actually make it worse for the building's longevity?
I don't think so, not in that particular case, but there is that issue of you don't want to apply stuff to bricks. For instance, it should be a breathable paint to
Right,
put
you're
on.
saying it should be breathable.
Because if it's a non-breathable paint, then when, in the wintertime, no, in the summertime, I guess, when there's a lot of humidity in the house, that humidity wants to get out of the house, and it starts to go into the brick, but it gets stuck because it can't go through the unbreathable layer on the outside.
Mhm.
Well, that moisture inside the brick causes the brick to degrade.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
it's a wildly fluctuating thing that depends on
I think-
seasons.
It
I
seems
mean,
like,
we can put a lot of conditions on this,
it seems like it is a good thing what they're doing, but I don't really see how it fits into this particular Community Preservation Act in terms of like the goals of the Community Preservation Act, which are about, open space, recreational rehabilitation, historic
It's
and
under
housing. So I don't really see how it fits in there. It seems like there's another grant that might be the right thing, the right fit for them.
But I think they're working on the facade because they're coming from a housing point of view, but they are doing it to recreationally have a community center there.
I know, but I don't see how that, supporting a community center just because it's a good community center, is part of the goals of the Community Preservation Act.
Right.
That's not really what it's about.
But if it looks good,
Where
it
no
might
one's gonna
draw
live in
people
this.
in.
No.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it's the old Portuguese part, so it's
Okay.
not,
No,
it's,
but
I mean,
it's
I
not
think it's a
an
very
apartment.
worthy thing. I would like
Yeah.
to see them have
I mean,
money.
when
I
I-
just don't think that it is
I drive by there
aligned with.
every day, 10 times a day, and anything in that area that would upgrade or create people to think that that their neighborhood is starting to look better,
Uh-huh.
I think is important. I'm not so sure about the facade or the historical thing. I think that this could benefit keeping it for the next, I'm not sure how many years, but I don't know, it just, I'd like to hope that that whole building starts to look better, so that people want to engage it and want to go there to do community, you know, whatever, they're gonna do some community work there, hopefully.
I would add to that. I mean, even though I was against the stucco, but, you know, you are making reference to a period of time that has a lot of significance. You know, that it was a social club and that it was a destination that people went to is great. If you do repair the stucco, it's already on the brick. Whatever damage has been done, you
It's
know,
done.
it's not gonna, this is gonna improve the durability of the finish that's on it now.
Yeah,
And so it'll make the building look better now, and the flats I think it's an improvement to the neighborhood. So improving the building, I think, has an added benefit of spilling over into that neighborhood, and people
I guess
that live there
The
go
important
to it.
point would be that if somebody were to say, like a resident were to say, why did the CPA committee give money to the flats? You know, I'm reading what the CPA goals are, and I don't see how, you know, it's just important to be able to articulate how it is aligned with CPA.
Yeah, but
That's
the
all.
Flats is an important neighborhood.
Right.
And if we can reasonably make the argument that adding the stucco will, you know, be a serious benefit to the stability and upgrading of the neighborhood and preserve an important resource, that's, you know, that does justify the expenditure. My concern is really, you know, less about that, because, you know, Flats is as worthy of investment as anyplace else.
Right.
And more about, you know, we're spending, at this point, we're not quite reaching into the sofa cushions for the spare change, but we're getting close. And we don't know what's coming down next year.
Oh, I think if we spend 20, you know, if we only
But if
spend
we-
30, we'll have $45,000 left rather than 20, right?
So
Right.
30, that's right. 30 is the stucco, and the exterior lighting.
32.
It's true that, what Mimi's saying, that it has caught on that people know now that there's money here. And, you know, because like the Facebook page, and I have a presence, you know, on Facebook too, and all these people have friended me who I don't even know. So I think there's, you know,
Interest.
a sort of, frenzy of interest now.
Well, that's all
awareness.
good.
Yeah.
So there could be a
Nothing wrong
lot
with
of
that.
new projects, you know, and it is a thought that what if something comes down the line that can't be
I
funded?
know, and maybe there won't, so, you know, we can't worry about next year until it's here.
And we're hoping that
And we'll have.
and we're
40
hoping that the state
I mean,
government is
I
gonna
mean-
put some more money in.
Yeah, and the difference, yeah, right, that's the hope, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Right now it
difference
looks
we're
good.
talking about is between having $20,000 left if we funded the whole thing, or $75,000 if we fund none of it, or $45,000 if we fund the $30,000. So, you know, we're just talking about not a lot of money that's gonna give us a big push if we need something big, you know what I mean? It's, so,
I'm not even thinking about something big, I'm thinking about 10 small things.
well, even 10 small things, right?
Yeah.
Chances of, yeah, well, anyway. Okay, so are we ready to take a vote on this?
What are we voting on particularly?
To fund, I'm gonna make a motion that we fund for 43 Canal Street, that we fund the stucco repair, the stucco and trim painting, and lighting fixtures and conduits, etc., for $32,000. So I would make that motion.
Can we, so the dormer and the actual ramp is another $20,000 estimate?
The dormer is 10,000, the ramp is 6,000, and the interpretive signage was 1,000, but those are all estimates. Then that's the low estimates, then he has a high estimate. Would you like to see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy? Thank you.
So what is the amount that you want to fund?
32,000, I believe, if I added up right.
I know that we don't know where this conduit's going, but I'll bet it's gonna go on the outside of the building. You know, it's gonna run along the top and come down to a light fixture, and that, I don't think that's in the standard of the
So maybe
interior.
we
Like,
could
it's
fund
gonna,
25.
it's not gonna look like
Right.
we think, I think.
Well, somebody was saying that it was gonna come from
That's
the
the-
inside.
Oh, I hope it does then. That's a lot
Yeah,
better.
I think
If they
that's
run
what
it
they
on the
said.
inside, it'll look, you know, kind of like that pipe that's over there in the corner of this room. You know,
Yeah.
they'll run it in on the inside, it's
And then,
okay.
yeah. I
It's
think
just weird that he called out for conduit, because Well, there's a junction box, he's gonna have to put in, you know, different breaker, all that stuff.
We will definitely have to have them come in to do our conditions because, to give us more information on the project. I mean, this is just estimates.
The dormers are going to actually make the building look more to its original historic purpose. I think that should be considered as well, if we're going to consider all
There's
the
only one,
stucco.
I think he's just gonna do one.
One dormer
And
replacement.
I forgot what, he said, when he came to speak to us, he said the first 3 are important, the other 3 are if you wanna do it, fine, if not. So I'm just going by what he suggested. This is Mike Moriarty.
What's weird is that they're taking 2 units, because they don't have just one, I think they have 2, which they broke through the demising wall with that long beam. So there should be 2 dormers, I might be able to find that. I don't know if I can look on satellite on my phone or not.
But were you saying the dormers will not really be authentic, because there's no way to put a
But-
window back in?
But
Yeah,
from
but
the
the-
outdoors, they'll
The
have
outside, the
the,
exterior
it's just the
here.
exterior look
The other
versus
thing we could do
having
about
it
it
functional.
is
I don't know if that meets the
There is-
standards though.
Oh.
he can come back next year.
Mm-hmm,
If he
yeah.
has to do the stucco now, he can come back
That's
next year and
right.
ask for the dormers.
It's not like, you know, he
Yeah.
can never
Assuming
reapply.
that architecturally.
There's definitely 2 dormers missing. So that's the building right there.
Do you need to see this?
See that darker roof?
Oh, yeah.
So you see how those dormers appear at a certain interval, and at the end, there's a longer space. I think 2 dormers go in there.
Yeah, they all have.
So maybe the fact that,
Dormers are.
that the stucco looks different from the rest, maybe it doesn't need dormers, I don't know. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, why
it's so
do that?
different
That's-
already.
It's so different already.
Yeah.
It does look like an independent row house.
yeah, yeah.
But seriously, they've been trying to do this for what, 10 years now, he's been
Right.
working on it?
Oh, really, yeah.
So, I mean, it's been a longer time than I think. I may be overestimating 10 years, but it's been a while. So if he has to do this in rounds, I can see that that's a
Right.
hardship.
So,
Yeah, it's not like you cut people off forever if you don't
No,
fund
you can
this
come back,
on
totally,
rounds,
yeah.
you know, you can just say it wasn't working.
So
so,
if there are things that have to be done at the same time, like you couldn't do the stucco effectively without doing the dormer at the same time, then you would have to consider funding them together. And that's not the case.
Right.
so would the motion be that you would fund up to 32,000?
Right, because that's the high
Not,
estimate.
and that's the high estimate, so up to 30, so it may come in lower,
Right,
Yeah.
so that would be the motion.
right.
So I'll second.
Well, okay, do you want me to rephrase it, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I thought I did that.
All right, no, that's okay. All right, I'll make the motion that we fund with CPA money, the stucco repair, the stucco and trim painting, lighting and fixtures and conduits for $32,000 for, up to $32,000 for 43 Canal Street.
Okay. I'll second it.
Madam Chairman,
Okay, now
is
under
that-
discussion, yes.
is that an estimate or is that the
That's an
budget?
estimate.
That's an estimate.
So again, it's the stucco, lighting, repair and conduits, and what else?
Those,
Okay.
okay.
Stucco repair,
Mhm.
stucco and trim painting. And actually, if you want to have this, and the lighting fixtures and conduits, first page.
We're sure that the lady in
Madam Chairman, do you recall if
Yeah, we're not.
No.
Mike
Because I think
had an
they were
We're
not
not
itemized
3,000 times. and I don't
estimate
know
as to
if
say
I
the
have
lighting
sense
was
that they-
3,000, the stucco repair was 8,000, the
And
painting?
that's what it says on
the
there.
repair and
Oh,
paint.
that made up the 32,000?
Yes, it says it.
So
I'm
maybe
not sure
we
if we're
just take that
You
later.
wanna see that?
Yeah,
We're not
right.
gonna-
Yeah. Amy, are you done with it? Because he wants to see it.
Yeah, if we may, just for the record.
Yes, under
Side-
discussion, yeah.
Sidetrack, neither Amy nor I is 100% sure, given the number of times we've discussed this, that the lighting fixtures are actually eligible for CPA funding.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, the other.
Well,
two-
it's not it's the light fixtures or the
Well,
light,
it's
the
the-
place where the lights are gonna go. When they're
That's
doing
what
the
he
stucco
claimed that it
repair.
would-
I mean, the stucco repair, they're gonna make a place for the lighting. We're not paying for the lighting. That was my understanding, wasn't it?
So
It
there's,
says light fixture
Yeah.
though.
it says lighting fixtures
I think-
conduits and so forth.
I remember asking him what he meant by that, and I think he was saying that there might be sort of a recessed area in the wall where the light goes.
Right,
But
yeah,
it was sort of vague.
yeah. So, you know, we can, I
But,
mean, this is not written in stone here.
yeah, I
We're just estimating too.
yeah, but in terms of the vote, you know, perhaps we'd like to make it conditional on our determining that the lighting fixtures are in fact eligible, and if they aren't, we're only recommending the first two.
Okay.
I mean, that makes me think of the Victory Theater with the sconces, but those are, you know, historic
Yeah, those
sconces,
are
and these we don't know, like, it doesn't really seem that they're historic necessarily.
Yeah, and I'm only raising this because I have this vague recollection that we may have talked about it before and come to the conclusion that we couldn't do that part.
I mean, the other thing is you could make a motion just for, leave that part out, reduce the amount, and then, you know, in the future, say to him, we just don't know enough about whether that's eligible, but you could apply for another round, you know, once we research it further. or something.
What if the, Madam Chairman, this is another thought, what if these are estimates, what if the estimate for the stucco repair, we don't know what the extent of the damage or how much needs to get done, only cost him $12,000. He puts the rest in his pocket.
No,
Oh, no.
He
He
only
has
gets
to submit
funded
an
for
invoice.
what
We
he
don't pay
submits.
till after
What
the
he
work's-
submits, but what if,
No.
I'm a little
We don't
gun
pay
shy
till
about
after
this.
the work's
No, we're
done.
only funding up to.
No, I realize that, but what if it comes in,
If it's less, they'll
If
submit an
it's less, then he
invoice,
doesn't get the
and he'll
money.
only get paid for what the invoice really costs. So if it's less, you know, and I'll check the invoice to make sure it's for what he agreed to in the contract.
no, I mean, I'm just a little gun shy about the stucco repair stuff. Contractors have a way of, especially when it's not a new project, and there's not gonna be a lot of inspectors around, they have a way of modifying invoices and creating work that wasn't actually done.
Yeah.
And they split it with the owner, or again, we're on camera, so I'll keep my mouth shut, but I'm just a little gun shy about these estimate on the stucco repair. If you're building a new building, or we're taking the stucco down, we can always say, well, we took the stucco down, it's gone. But here, you know, to what extent is it the repair? Is it 50% done, and call it quits, or 25% done? How much does it repair, does it need? We don't know that. So to say it costs a certain amount of money, it may cost a heck of a lot less. But contractors have a way of making agreements with owners that may or not always be correct.
Well,
That's all I'm
the
saying.
the only thing we can do is that we can only hope that people are faithful in the estimates that they get. That's all we can do is ask for legitimate estimates. And that's what we work off. So no matter what the project is,
Yeah, this is.
we can second guess anything. But we're hoping that people are being legitimate here.
And in the
And
end,
that's what we have to hope for,
in the
that's
end,
all.
we're gonna get the invoice,
And that's what-
it
that's
has
what we
to-
pay.
Right, and we can put in the conditions that, you know, the work has to be finished and completed.
And we're gonna go and look and make sure
Barbara will
it's
help us
done
write
right.
the right things in the
Yeah, I
minutes.
will.
Who's gonna go and look?
But no, the classic way.
Listen, I drive by it enough, I'll definitely be
Requiring
looking.
a second estimate from a contractor that we're choosing.
Could you start from the
I
beginning?
mean, the classic way of handling this kind of problem, you know, as best I can tell, is to, and it's awfully late in the process to even consider this now, is to ask that a second estimate be prepared by a contractor chosen by the granting authority,
Mhm.
who doesn't have a relationship.
Yep.
So if it was wildly out of line, then we would know.
Right. And I think that Mike Sullivan asked for that when we were doing Maple Street. He said to
Oh,
John
He did, he asked them to get a
Tansy, he
second.
said, you need to get me 2 more estimates.
Yes.
And
But
we
you said
did that
that
for
right.
that project.
Yes.
And then we didn't even fund it after he went and did everything he should have done.
Yeah.
And now we're funding a project where we haven't even asked him for
Yeah.
a second one.
Well,
But,
we can do that, yeah.
yeah,
We can
but,
put that in the
so
conditions.
we'll know in the future, you know,
Right.
that's something we should think about, but, you know, we're getting better.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's have a vote,
Madam Chairman, we're voting on $32,000.
So-
32,000.
Okay, so
Even though we don't know about the lighting aspect?
Well, she made the condition there that Mimi mentioned, the
Okay.
condition that we're not sure about the lighting, so that would be a condition to the.
So we're gonna
Original
fund
motion.
up to 32,000, but if we can't do the lighting and the stucco and the trim come in less than that, then we pay the amount. But we don't necessarily have to be putting out 32,000. It'll be 32,000 or less.
Right.
Well, it could be, up to 32,000 to be paid on receipt of appropriate invoices. We could condition, after the presentation of a second estimate showing that this is realistic. And one good reason to do that is that if the estimate comes in either higher or lower, or substantially lower, we don't want to either fund something that's unrealistic and have our money tied up for a year and then they can't do it because they can't complete it on the 32,000. Or, nor do we want to commit 32,000 if this is only going to cost 10,000. And we can say, we want an independent estimate confirming this before any
Before
funds are
work
committed.
begins.
We haven't even seen the first estimate yet, so I
Right.
think we need to see that one and an additional
Yeah.
one at least.
Right.
And,
Right.
that, there's some question about whether that makes this so iffy that we don't even want to vote for it at this point. But,
Well, even if we do and they don't,
Yeah.
we don't like the estimates, then we don't have to give them the money at that point in time. If we don't like the estimates.
But it is a lot of hoops
Or,
to
I
jump
mean,
through.
We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Right now, we're
I
just
think-
voting for this, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, all of these projects,
but what I'm hearing is we do agree that if we do it, we are conditioning this heavily to 10,000.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Just, Madam Chairman, if somebody, if we could have an independent authority would donate their time to say, yes, this historical restoration of the exterior or this restoration of the exterior, the stucco is well done and needed, and yes, good job.
Well,
We have no way of,
by the time we need that, we may need it for other projects, so we may have to hire someone to go around and look at all the projects for us. And we'll have the funding then, we don't have the funding now, but when the projects are done.
no, and I understand that. Madam Chairman, oughtn't this fall under the building inspector's job? To say, to go down and look at the stucco and say, all you did was patch one hole and you want 12 grand for that? Or something of that nature. Or say, yes, you did a good job. Yeah, it looks good, it's painted. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, we're gonna get estimates that explain the project. They're not gonna say we're gonna repair holes, they're gonna say we're gonna do the
I
whole.
mean,
Well,
just,
that's okay. No,
one
it's
thing
all right.
I'm just thinking though is, like, you're saying we're getting ahead of ourselves, but in a way, if this is voted on and everything, then I'll need to put my hours, into writing this up, which is taking money out of the limited amount. So what I'm saying is,
Well,
If
before
it
you
ends
do
up
that
that-
though, before you do that, we're gonna have him come in and talk to us some more about what we want.
but my point is that, we also, I know it's important to be wise on how we spend the money, so if I end up doing, this work that ends up not being needed because it's not applicable anyway, or, it's not allowable, then you'll have lost money out of the admin budget, when it's a small amount left, So that's one thing I was conscious of with some of the things I prepared for Mike Sullivan in the past that were never really shared. I was like, wow, I spent a lot of time working for that, and it wasn't used,
I know.
which is sort of a waste of money. So that's just what I just wanted to mention that.
Madam Chairman, one last question. Amy, this is really going into minutiae detail, and we probably don't need to go. This is the question. What if is there a historical color or paint that has to be put on according to make it historically acceptable?
You're asking me?
Well, no, I mean, is there regulations like if some, well,
You can ask them.
Yeah, I
deserve
think that-
that, like if they painted it purple?
I
I mean-
think, right, I think that that's why, what Elaine, I think you were referring to, is that once the new fiscal year starts, there'll be more money where which would allow me to hire a historic restriction consultant, I think they're called, who would have to really go photograph the building and, be
be able to inform us on, you know,
Or
work
maybe,
with us
maybe the
on a
historical
contractual basis.
commission might have input.
Not really. I just don't think we're gonna get that much in that way.
So,
But,
so I have just one, so should
because
we,
it's complicated, they have to really photograph the building. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something different when I say restriction consultant, because that's different.
should we ask Mike to come in and answer more questions before we actually, I mean, should we just,
We've done that before.
I know we
Oh,
have.
yes, but-
Yeah, but we need to have them come in again to answer, before we do the conditions, the legal
Right.
conditions.
Okay.
We'll definitely have
So
them.
maybe
So
we
we're willing
We're
to,
just
what we're
funding.
saying is we're
Yeah.
willing to support your project
Yes,
if you
For
can
this amount.
document
and right,
it appropriately and
Exactly.
do the job
no
correctly.
estimates and,
Right.
yeah.
But when would that stuff be documented? Before
Well,
the
hopefully,
contract is
if
signed,
he
or after?
gets-
I'd like him to come to our next meeting.
Right, so maybe he needs to just, maybe we need to just say we voted to, you know, whichever way it goes, but if we vote to support it,
Well, if we're going to ask him to come in to answer these questions, maybe the thing to do is to vote next time once we're ready.
Right.
But we may run out of time here, we're running, what are we up to May? We only got June and the city council won't be meeting after June, the end of June for the
But-
summer. I mean, I'd like to get this
I would
going.
suggest, however, that getting this right is worth 2 weeks of delay.
2 weeks of
If
delay.
he can come in and if you guys, if we have quorum and, you know,
Good
this
idea.
is, yeah. I just think we can do this and then have him come in and, because we're gonna need help with the conditions, we
We are
don't
going
know.
to need help with the conditions, but if we are doubtful about how this is even going to work, we need to hear from you.
I'm not doubtful at all, I'm fine with doing it this way, so it's up to you guys.
I totally hear what you're saying, that it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. We vote on something and then later say, oh, but we need this and that from you before we can really be
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
It
because
seems to confuse things and make.
as I was laying out conditions, so probably what's in my mind is we're trying to condition this in such a way that it basically removes the problems with having voted now. We're making conditions for what if we shouldn't even have said yes to this.
Right, it's sort of
But all the
like a weird
projects,
footnote to the whole thing.
we don't know the details of any of our projects,
Right.
really, let's face it, I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen with 123 Pine Street, the details, you know,
We're
here's the
hoping.
funding, and,
And
you
we're
know,
hoping
if
they're
things
gonna
work
be
out,
legitimate.
we'll fund it, you know, it's not, the final step is when the work is done, and then that's where we're at, that's when we'll, you know, be giving them the money, or we won't. Just because we vote to fund it, that doesn't mean we're locked in there, and we can't, we're gonna, anything goes, we're not, you know, they get the 32,000. I mean, none of the projects, they aren't gonna get the money until they do the work. So, and and part of the work is getting estimates and stuff like that, so. Anyways, okay, so, I'm ready to take a vote, so I don't know about you guys, what do you wanna do? Come on, guys.
I'm just curious, what happens if it's a tie, like 3-3?
Then it's a tie. But
I mean,
also,
like 3-4, 3 against, what
oh,
happens?
I don't know.
I
Because I
don't know,
just
I
had
don't know if it
something
says that in our rules.
The cameraman is the honorary,
I don't think it mentions in our rules if there's a tie on the vote.
I think that would be,
You need a majority.
You need a
Yeah.
majority,
That
so,
doesn't
yeah, it doesn't fly, and we'd have to probably vote on it again some other time, when
When there's
there's
more.
an uneven number.
Yeah, okay.
Just so happens we're an even number tonight. I'm waiting for you guys, what do you
So-
wanna do? Do you wanna do the final vote, or do you wanna hold up? I'm ready to ask for a vote, for the final vote.
I think it's
Okay.
good. Do we have enough discussion?
Yes.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
motion
I
and a
think so.
second.
Okay.
All right, so,
So we need a second.
all in favor?
You second.
No, you
Yeah.
seconded, so
Yeah.
it's all in favor, raise your hand if you're in favor of doing the 32,000 with all the things we discussed on that.
With all the preliminaries.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm in.
Yeah, I agree. That's the tie.
see, I predicted.
3-3.
All right.
cameraman. Yay or nay?
All right, so we'll just vote on this some other time. Hopefully we'll have enough time to get it through the city council.
Good. I mean, if he comes in, well, my hope would be.
So can we ask him to come in to our
Our
next meeting?
yes.
Yeah, because one of the things that has really heartened me about the process so far is that with the exception of 123 Pine, which is complex, the city council has accepted our recommendations on the spot.
Right.
And I think if we work these details out, and we can say,
Mhm.
all right, here is what the stucco will reasonably cost, here are the estimates for it, here is what we can and can't fund, we may be able to write a final recommendation that, like the others, will fly right through.
Mhm.
We wrote our original schedule on the assumption, which I'm happy to have been wrong about, that anything we tried to get to the city council would be delayed by months in the city council, because things often are.
Right,
And
but it hasn't, so
it
that's,
hasn't worked out that way.
it's been so good.
We've had,
That's government.
yeah, well, we've been very lucky,
Yeah, I agree.
but as long as the city council is willing to vote on, vote to approve our recommendations when they are clear, I think part of the answer is if we decide to do this, we give them a very clear recommendation with the input of the applicant.
Yeah.
We get these questions resolved, and maybe we still feel like there's a split, and maybe the body as a whole is still uncomfortable with it. But if we are comfortable, I think we can write a much better recommendation with the additional information than we would be able to write without it.
Yeah, I agree.
So our next meeting,
Yes, we have to, well, first of all, we had item 5, we were going to discuss some conditions for the other projects.
But wait, can I just ask, if we're inviting Mike Moriarty to
Yeah.
the next meeting, should I inform him that we want him to come equipped with an actual official estimate from a contractor?
two,
Two by the next meeting?
I think he needs two.
For what, for all the items?
No.
Everything,
No,
or just
for
the
just
first
the-
three?
Just for
Just for the stucco
Just the
repair.
stucco
the
repairs?
stucco and painting.
Stucco and painting, okay.
And-
So
and-
two
And then we're gonna revisit the lighting
yeah.
fixtures to
And
make sure we
maybe
can even
it's
fund
eligible.
those.
In the meantime, Amy, you can find out about the lighting, if that would be covered. I mean,
I think I had asked Stuart about it and I don't remember, but maybe if
Well,
he can give us more specific
I was just gonna
details,
say, let's
yeah.
wait till he comes, because he can tell us more what he wants, and then we will have to
Yeah.
tell him, we have
I
to
mean, if
wait.
it's part of the facade.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
wouldn't the lighting have to be congruent with the lighting on the street? Like the building next door that may have a lantern out front? Wouldn't it have to, if they're all the same, wouldn't
I'm
he'd have to
gonna
match
drive
that?
by at night now and see what those lights are.
To see, so they all look the same as you're driving down the street? Oh,
I
well,
don't
never
think he
noticed
has
the
it lighted.
light.
I think he wants it lighted all night long,
Well, no, that's okay, but I mean, as long as those
Outside.
fixtures marry with the rest of the fixtures down the street, or
Yeah,
on
the
both sides
others
of the
are
street.
houses though, they're not.
And I'm just not clear if the lighting's interior or exterior.
I think it's on
I
the
felt like
outside.
it was outside.
Yeah, outside lighting, it was
He
definitely.
said
outside.
it,
Okay.
I feel like he said something about that it's there, he
Yeah.
just needs to work around it and then get fixtures that are appropriate.
If
But-
you do drive by during the day, it would
I'm
be great
gonna
to
get out
take
of
a
my car
photograph.
now, yes, I will, I'll be there
Um,
tomorrow.
So do you think, he'll be able to get those official independent estimates in time for the next meeting?
Well, let's hope for at least one good estimate, and if he can get us
Okay,
two,
okay.
that would be helpful.
If two,
Yeah.
that would be great, okay. Although when you were talking about it should be from the grantor,
Yeah, but it is, if you're really worried about making
Okay,
sure
we're
that.
running out of time here, ladies, I mean, it's almost 8 o'clock, we have some other items, if we're not gonna talk about 43 Canal anymore. I'd rather not, you guys can talk after about 43 Canal.
It's best practice,
All right.
but I don't think we have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, item 5, all right, as I said, item 5 was discussion of conditions regarding the city council approved projects for the city solicitor's office, but I don't know if we have time to get into all that,
I
or do you
mean-
want to just do one?
I
tonight?
did bring copies of what I was able to get to for just sort of a starting point for the different, but I think, what's really important is to discuss this Blue Tech Woods thing, or we can do that at the end.
Under other business.
Those are just, those
All
are
right.
difficulties,
Let me just handle that.
Okay, so I have the Blue Tech Woods, stained glass, Smith's Ferry, Holyoke Boys and Girls Club, Annex Lanterns, 348 Chestnut Street and 337 Victory Theater. Wait, I had two for Victory Theater. Oh. So do you want to look at all of these? I know that it's already getting late. I mean, how
Well,
much
no, yeah,
was-
we won't have time to do them. Why don't we just,
Do you want me to just take Glow Tech and I'll work on that and get you all the answers you need?
well, if you have copies for everyone there?
Yeah.
Yeah. here.
Yeah, so I'll pass them out.
But I'll see if I can get you some
And
answers.
the next meeting, that's what we're gonna do, besides meeting with Mike Moriarty, is just those two things. Meet with him and start going over the conditions, and
I
they'll
mean-
need to be prepared by then.
Should I pass all these out so everybody can take
Yes,
them home?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other one, I
Take
saw
them.
that you looked on the annex lanterns and you asked them, are they going to be lit? Did you ever get an answer? Because I never saw that you did.
Well,
You sent it to Olivia and Michael.
that we just put that into the conditions for the contracts.
I
And
know,
they
but-
did say that they would be responsible for lighting them.
Okay.
But
That's why
I think it
didn't
is
see that.
important to have that in there. 'Cause-
Yeah, no, you just asked them that, are they gonna get them lit? And then I never saw a response from them.
They did say yes.
Okay, so they
said
so
yes
they didn't
at first.
reply all of them, they just replied to you. Okay.
That may be in the law at some point.
Okay,
So just keep
so
in
that's
mind,
just
when
good for me to know.
also some stuff continues on the second page, and keep in mind that, you know, some of this, I'm not sure, this is just to kind of.
Okay, this is so that we can brief the city solicitor, or?
Right, this is so that everybody can decide, does this make sense? Should we add something? Should we take something away?
Okay, yeah, so this is definitely.
So,
This is good.
so Amy, on Glow Tech, for me, can I just call the city solicitor with Andrew and work on some of the details and then give you some answers to some of these questions? Because I thought I had this all solved before I went away, but now it seems like it just keeps haunting me, so I'm gonna just do it once and for all.
Oh, so sorry, ask that question again, sorry.
So can I just call the city solicitor on my own with Andrew and do this whole Glow Tech project with her? And let you know what?
Yeah, as long as you
Okay.
keep me on.
Yeah, I'll keep you on the loop.
Okay, so the Victory Theater has 2 pages, so be sure to take 2 pages each.
Okay, we'll do that.
Oh, okay.
I hope I have enough for everybody. And I hope these are the same.
Okay, do I have both pages or are we circulating?
It's the first 2 pages, just take the top 2 pages
Oh, okay.
and then pass them, everybody take 2 pages. And here's your, I hope these are the same.
This is a good packet, I got a nice report, I got all this stuff.
So Amy, I've been handing my copies over to, like, I only have one, the blue tab, glow tab. But if those are someplace where I can find them, I can go find them.
Is there any left? He doesn't have a
Yeah,
copy.
the first time
Which
around,
one do you need?
Everything.
All of them, except for Luther.
Oh, you don't have anything?
but I don't want to take your copy, and I.
No, that's okay, I can get it, you know, on the computer.
All right, thank you.
Do you have the Victory Theater one?
I do. The only one I have is glow tech. No, it's not.
Okay, so I think this is the same as the others, but I just hand wrote something there.
Do you need this?
I can get it off the computer, I think it's
All right,
important
thank
that
you.
you all have it, you know, to look through.
Thank you.
All right, okay.
And there's still more that have to be
That's gonna be our
written.
homework
This is
now
the start.
for our next meeting, and so did you finish discussing the business about food tech, are you all set? No, Okay.
If we're going on to other business
Business,
now, we
yeah.
can talk about
yep,
the problem with Andrew Smith, who's involved with the Glow Tech, is it Glow Tech or something?
Yeah, I think it's Glow Tech.
Is trying to figure out
where the check should, who the check, how to get this check cut, because it's not like the other projects where we're gonna get an invoice. They need this money up front to purchase, for the city to purchase
I see, yeah.
and plus Marcia Cassidy, who owns the land, will have to pay taxes owed to the city, so it's very
Yeah,
complicated.
don't pay her the full amount, make sure they take those taxes off the top.
This,
That's
So-
a good point.
no, this is
Yeah.
just, this is a real
Okay,
estate
hang
person.
on, yeah,
There will be a million lawyers there, and they will have decided how the checks need to be cut.
That's right.
And everybody will come in at once to do it.
right. So this is how it's supposed to play out, and I got an email from Matt, who is her lawyer, and also a Holyoke resident, I can't remember, Madonna, is that his name?
Oh, Matt McDonough.
Okay, so he's her lawyer.
Yeah.
And his suggestion, and then also working with the city solicitor, the city solicitor said she will work off the purchase and sale rather than having a new
Right.
document made.
That's what she said.
She'll pay off that. Matt said, it looks as though the money can either go to the city or to him, and he'll hold it in like an escrow. And then as the closing happens,
That's right, yes, yeah.
then the money that she owes on that particular property, which I think is less than the 80,000, but she's gonna pay the full 80.
Is it 87,000?
It's 87 on both of her properties, I think. It's 50 on the 52 acres that were
51 and a half.
51 and a half, and then, which I think came out to 53 with the new,
What's the new one? I don't know.
well, we just had a survey done and
Oh,
and
it
it went
came out
up,
to be
it went
more.
up a little bit more.
So what is the full?
I'm not sure, but I have an email on it.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm feeling, because when I said to her, you only owe 50,000, she goes, no, I owe, she says, that's probably on just that one parcel. She goes, I'm paying everything. So, so I said, okay, then at that time, Matt's gonna make it so the payment will go for everything to the city, which is around 80,000, I think. And then whatever she has in the end will go back to her to pay for her lawyer, for her real estate agent, and then,
But she needs the check in order to pay the money.
absolutely.
So.
She has no money.
But she doesn't need the check.
But he needs
Who
the check.
needs the check?
And
Matt-
he's gonna
Matt
be,
done that.
Matt's
Done
gonna
it.
make the project happen.
Yes,
And the city solicitor and Andrew have been working together as a threesome to make that be the cohesive group. Kestrel doesn't wanna get involved in the money part because then it just adds to the,
yeah.
you know, to it being just another
So I haven't
complicated
seen
project.
any of these emails. Was this through email that
Yeah,
Notice Society?
yeah.
But seriously.
But I thought you were copied on them, because
I was
saw your
getting
name
some
on it.
emails, but I didn't see that Matt Donahue is gonna,
Okay, so let me clarify tomorrow, I'm just back, so, I was getting them haphazardly when I was away, so, let me just clarify with everybody
okay.
and
So the
and get it all in one place.
It's possible that Matt Donahue would be the one who would.
He would get
would
the
go
check,
in.
or the city would get the check, one or the other, and Matt would make it happen. That's how I
So,
feel.
yeah,
That's
that's
how
what-
it works.
That's the
Yeah.
best
Even
way.
in a regular sale.
Yeah.
That's how
It's
it
just
works.
one check
the
goes
lawyer
in,
that has to-
And then he has another
Yeah.
check to pay out,
Yes,
and he'll bring it to the closing room.
So the question is who the check should be.
It'll
written
probably
out.
go to, I would assume, Marcia Cassidy. And then, but he'll hold the check,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
and then he'll have a check from Marcia Cassidy going to the city, and at the time of the closing, all the disbursements are made. So Marcia Cassidy would get a check for whatever, 155, I think, and then, or whatever we paid, and then
No.
he would have a check for 80,000 going to the city, and then whatever's left would be, I think 5,000 would go to Kestrel for the survey. I mean, everything's documented, and everything will have an invoice. And then if there's any money left, it stays in the account for CPA.
So we're trusting her lawyer to hold this check.
And Andrew from Conservation,
Okay.
and the city solicitor, and Rosemary Arnold, who is gonna follow all of this right till the end, since, it's not my, well, I think it was your
It
project.
won't have to go to an escrow.
Oh, I'll check in with you.
Yes. All these checks are made.
Okay.
And
So-
the attorney can't just put this into a business account and walk off with it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So everything will be at the closing.
So probably something will be written up about
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
escrow account and all this.
Right. Everything will be documented as to how the disbursements were made, who they were made to, and then if there was any invoices that would go against the account, and those would be paid out, and then if there's any money, well, the money that would be left would be only, I mean, she would get her money for the property, and then there would be some of the other monies, like, I think there was money for Kestrel to hold the CR, and then money for the survey, and I think those are the only two other items that come out.
177,900.
So she gets what, 155?
Oh, I don't have all of
Okay,
those.
but I have it at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds like you have everything.
I think I do.
under control.
I mean, I've been looking at it a lot.
Do you
and-
have a meeting scheduled with the city?
Well, I
solicitor?
just got home,
Oh.
so tomorrow I'm actually back to normal, so I'm gonna put a call into her and see if I can get a meeting between Andrew and myself and her
And Crystal?
and Crystal.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And then, and I did
I
talk to
just
her a little
don't know
bit
if
before I
this will
left.
happen by May 22nd, because I'm also, well,
You
maybe
can-
it doesn't
You can
matter.
count on it.
You can- Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna be
Purchase
away,
and sale, May 22nd.
but I
It
guess
will
I'm not
happen.
meeting, so.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a complicated mess if it doesn't.
Right, right.
Okay. When are you gonna be away?
I'm going to be away, I'm leaving this Friday, and I'll be back, I think it's the 15th.
You need a break.
Yeah, although the traveling is gonna be exhausting, I'll tell you later.
All right.
And then I'm gonna be away the first week of June, which I
Right,
think
we
I've already
remember
told
that,
you.
yeah.
Okay. All right, okay, so I think we covered the agenda for now, and the only other thing is the next meeting date, and my suggestion would be the 21st of May, which is 2 weeks from tonight at 6 o'clock.
The day before the vote tech.
That's it.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
I think it was.
May 21st at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. That works for me.
Oh God, I have a Kestrel.
Although
board.
Megan
It
said
doesn't
that
work for me.
Tuesdays are not easy for her, but maybe she can keep doing the minutes from the
Yeah.
recording.
Okay, so I can't make that meeting. I have a Kestrel board meeting and I've already missed 3 because of this.
Oh,
But I can come to the first part. I just have to be at Kestrel by 7.
Okay.
So I could come at 6.
You can be
And
here
I'll
for-
leave at 20. I'll leave at 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
can be here
fine.
for my priority, that's the important.
Okay, yeah,
And the
sure.
other stuff is what we're gonna discuss on here, and you can let Amy know if there's
Amy
any.
may not be able to come till the 21st. I'm just thinking ahead about a quorum, you know.
Yeah, me too,
So what would be a second date if we,
the 28th,
I guess?
That's still Tuesday.
that's still Tuesday.
Okay, I'm good for the 28th.
Can't make it the previous week?
The one before the 22nd?
I can't come over,
Oh,
I'm
it's
flying
fine.
back on the
Sorry.
14th, so. And Wednesdays are not good, I guess.
Hopefully Mike Moriarty, can make that, either the 21st. Why don't we do this, why don't we send out an email, see how many people can make the 21st, and if we have a quorum,
Because
and
doing
then,
it sooner is through.
and check with Mike Moriarty and see if he can make it the
Yeah.
21st.
Yeah,
Okay.
All
yeah.
right.
and if you
I'll
can't
send
see
it out, I'll send out.
So if people can't, sometimes people don't really get back to me, so it's hard to know.
I'll do that, I'll send it out and ask him to get
Okay.
back to me.
Okay, and let me know.
Yep,
So if they can't do it, what would be the alternative?
the 28th, I guess.
The 28th?
Are they the 28th of Tuesday?
Yes?
Yeah, so
So
another
I
Tuesday.
may have a planning board meeting the 28th. Tuesdays, this happens to be an off week for the planning board. Usually Tuesdays are booked out.
And then the week after, everyone's gone, she's gone.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, hopefully we can do it the 21st.
Yeah, I will try to move that date in New York and see if
Okay. Anything else? Anything else under other business or,
Madam Chairman, do you want to set a date for election of officers, new election for the
July.
officers?
not till July?
Not wait till July.
Well, that's the
Oh,
rules,
okay.
say July.
The only other, well, I guess So the next
We
meeting,
have to wait till we
Hopefully-
hear them first.
people will read over the conditions, although some people may not be able to be here for that meeting. Maybe in
Well,
your
they can let you
email,
know,
when
Yeah.
you say,
okay?
please let me know if you're coming. Also, maybe you can send these conditions, which I can make sure you have the link to or whatever, and say, please be sure to be prepared and, look over and add to it so that we can.
And if you can't make the meeting, let Amy know if you have any additions or concerns.
Okay.
If we have that meeting on.
I'm just worried that people won't actually look at the conditions and kind of think about them before the meeting, which would
Well,
be helpful because there's so many.
Well, you got 6 of us here
Right,
tonight,
but
which
some
is
of us
good, right?
You're volunteers and we
Oh,
volunteer whether we're.
I'm thinking about the people who aren't here, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll do their best. Okay. All right. Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye, no discussion. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.